Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Chandana, and today I'm going to do a Guru Purnima special because today is Guru Purnima. So often you must have heard, when the student is ready, the master appears. But what does this exactly mean, and how does one get ready? What is the meaning of getting ready? How do you know if you are ready? So I'm just going to start off with this saying that if you don't have a spiritual guru, okay, and you are somebody who wants a spiritual guru, so what entitles the process of getting ready is that you start doing whatever little bit you know or you read or you've heard from somewhere. And since nowadays it is the Kali Yuga, what is important to know is that the deity is responsible to make you meet your guru, as opposed to in the other yugas the guru was the person who would lead you to the deity, but nowadays it's the exact opposite. So how does one start prepping or start moving on this progress even though you don't have a spiritual guru? So the first and foremost thing is you need to have a very, very sincere desire, okay, to want to move on the spiritual path. Now, a lot of times people want a spiritual guru so that, maybe they can stop having multiple divorces, or they want a child, or they want more money, or they want the ancestral property to come to you. But this is not the reason why we come under the tutelage of a spiritual guru. Okay, a spiritual guru is somebody who is responsible to help us transform ourselves and evolve ourselves from a human to something that can be more than human, right? So our spiritual journey, something that is transforming our souls, and thereby as a byproduct it may or may not transform your life depending on the kind of karma also that you have. So coming back to the point that how does one get ready or what entails becoming ready? So the first and foremost thing you do is you start having a genuine, sincere, burning desire, okay? Because you cannot fool the universe, you cannot fool the Parabrahman, you cannot fool God. You can fool yourself, you can be deluded as well. So first is once the desire is there, then now what is it that we do? See, once you have a burning desire, you will, the way your mind works is it will automatically put things in your way which will fulfill your desire. Okay, this is not manifestation but more of, like law of attraction is what happens. So when you have a desire to want a guru or to progress on the spiritual path, irrespective of whether you have a guru or you don't have a guru, the universe will start putting things, putting the right kind of people in your path, putting the right kind of books. Maybe you will come across a certain YouTube video, you will read something in a magazine, maybe a friend will send you a reel. So anything is possible. But ideally, how one should start is start by taking any name of any deity that you feel drawn towards or comfortable with, or even feel like exploring. Okay, now what happens here is people will, because they have this desire, they'll go to multiple deities. Don't do that, pick one. It doesn't matter who it is at this point. Okay, ideally when one starts on their spiritual journey and their spiritual path, you always start with Ganpati, and your Kuladevi Devata also have a very prominent role. Your ancestors have a very prominent role in all of this. But if you're somebody who's just an absolute beginner and you don't know where to go, start chanting the name or the names of a particular deity. Okay, so say for example, if you take Lord Shiva, you can either do the single name mantra, which is the Om Namah Shivaya mantra, or you can chant 108 names of his, or if you feel you're more up for it, you can do the Sahasranama, right? So similarly, you can pick any deity of your choice. It could be Vishnu, it could be Devi, it could be any form of Devi, also it could be Lord Kartikeya. So if you're an absolute beginner, I would recommend that you start with their simplest, easiest one line mantra. Okay, it's okay if you don't have a mala, it's okay if you don't have an asan. Okay, and in the beginning you just take some time of your day every day, okay, and sit and do this name chanting. Please don't do this name chanting, when you're walking in the park, or you're working on the laptop, or you're cooking or something like that. Dedicatedly take out some time in the day. Initially, if you're not a very disciplined person, then take out some time in the day. If you are a disciplined person, then try to sit at the same time in the same place every day and do this mantra for as long as you feel like you can do it. Maybe somebody can do it for 5 minutes, somebody can do it for 1 hour. So you see how you are able to handle this whole process of sitting, and make that request before you sit. Do it with love, do it with devotion, do it with sincerity, and say that I really don't know where I'm going, and I need your guidance. Please guide me, because I want to progress on the spiritual path. Please note that this is for your spiritual progress. Please don't attempt this and ask for materialistic things. I want to get rid of my debt, or I want to marry a particular somebody and all of that. This is purely for your spiritual upliftment and your spiritual growth. Okay, and you keep doing this for some time. Preferably light a lamp, okay, of any oil or ghee when you sit, okay, and face either east, north, or northeast direction only. Okay, and try to have a separate mat. If you don't, that's also okay. If you are comfortable sitting on a chair or on a sofa or on a stool, then see how best you are comfortable and try to put this into practice. Okay, because when you do this for a few months, then suddenly you will start getting all the right things in your way, and you will have a way forward. Now, so what happens once we have this desire? You've had this desire to have your spiritual progress. You've started a small practice that you can understand that maybe doesn't need so much of monitoring and all. So when you do this for an extended period of time with that burning desire, which is still on, what happens is everything will start coming into alignment for you, and your sensitivity will increase, in the sense that, when it's not necessary always that the guru will speak to you through a living human being. Okay, they may give you indications in your dreams, you may read something somewhere, you may meet a certain kind of person who will give you further guidance. Now see, this is we don't try to do the whole marathon in a day, right? We go a few steps and then a few milestones, and that's how you progress. So there isn't one very specific certain path for a person, and everybody's path is a little different. Initially we all kind of tend to swing and sway and move ahead on this journey. So the other thing that I want to talk to you about over here is that let go of this burning desire for a physical human living guru. Okay, because all in all, if you were ready, they would have already appeared, right? Considering you're not ready, you should be open to the idea of guidance and allow nature, Prakriti herself, and allow the deity to hold your hand and to take you ahead. So you may get dreams, you may get certain people who are very senior upasaks of that particular deity, and you will have this slow hand holding, but you have to be open and you have to be receptive to this guidance. Like for example, if I have to tell you, Lord Dattatreya had 21 or 22 teachers, out of which a lot of them were nature, was Prakriti, from a dog and a fish and a tree. So the whole point is you need to be open, receptive, and observant. The minute you have these three things, even a small hint, and you will pick up and you will know what is it that you have to do next. Okay, when you have a burning desire for a living guru rather than a burning desire for your spiritual growth, what happens is you land in the wrong hands with the wrong people, and then you'll probably you'll have cases where somebody has done some black magic on you, or somebody has completely derailed you off the path, or somebody has siphoned all your property and your money and all of that. So please note that a spiritual guru actually is so abundant, is so rich, they don't need anything from you as such. Okay, and they are somebody who can take your full-fledged responsibility. Okay, I'll come to that in a little bit because I feel I'm deviating now. But don't have this burning desire to want a living guru. Be open to it and take cues from nature. It could be the fact that one day you were sitting at the park at a with your family having a picnic, and maybe you saw a dog run by, and that triggered something, your thought process into something else. And maybe you felt like, maybe I'm like this dog, I'm just running helter skelter, maybe I need to focus more, I need to narrow down more, something, and everything is not necessarily going to have a spiritual connotation. It may also mean that sometimes maybe you need to learn to let go of things, or maybe you need to have more discipline or more dedication. See, these are all foundational steps before you actually transform or you start off on your spiritual journey. Okay, we have a lot of other blockages that are there for us, our own mental and emotional blockages that we are not able to get past, and if we can't get past that, then we can't really transform. Transformation is not always only by doing mantra japa or only by reading scriptures. Sometimes the transformation comes from swadhyaya also, which is self-study. You need to start understanding what is it that sometimes we get in our own way, and we need to get out of, we need to stop being our own obstacle. So that also is a process that happens simultaneously while you are doing a sadhana, right? So when you understand yourself and you can understand how you are behaving or why you are behaving a certain way, then the minute the understanding comes, the problem is solved. Then you're able to move ahead. So why, when we say when the student is ready, and you will have multiple masters, it can be a dog on the street, it can be a weather, it can be a relationship, it can be your child, it can be somebody doing a podcast on YouTube, it could be a book. So they are all your gurus, provided you have this understanding that the guru is trying to establish a contact, make a connection with you, right? So this is the first and foremost thing that you need to understand as an absolute beginner on the spiritual path. And don't go chasing after living gurus and even specifically not one person. Be open. You don't know whether your guru is going to be a man or a woman or a 6-year-old child or whoever it is, right? So be open to it. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about gurus is that, when you are looking at a spiritual guru, and you are running after I want a certain initiation and this, that, and through the paddhati and all that, one main important thing that I want to tell you today is that there are a lot of people that take initiations, but they don't progress anywhere. They have not moved an inch from who they were, who they are in the present moment, because they have not put into practice whatever was given to them, whatever was gifted to them by their guru. Okay, so if you are somebody who is not good at following through with instructions exactly as they're told, then also you should not have this burning desire for a spiritual living guru. Okay, because the biggest disrespect that a person or a student or a disciple does to their guru is that they don't follow through with the practices or the sadhana that the guru has imparted to them. Okay, it has no meaning if, you know, today on a Guru Purnima you take you know, their photo and just put flowers, or you have an idol of, say, like, you know, Swami Samarth or Guru Dattatreya or anybody like this, or you have the Guru Padukas and you're doing abhishek with it and putting flowers. It will have no meaning if you have not put into practice every day of your life whatever was imparted to you. Okay, so this is one of the best way of paying respects to your guru, by doing whatever they told you, by carrying forward and carrying on the teaching that they have given you. Okay, the next point that I want to talk about a spiritual guru is that, you know, when a guru takes you in under his care, what he does is he also takes in account of all of your karma. Okay, and now what happens is, from your regular karma that you are dealing with, it's like a cord, okay, that you are having all this hullabaloo in your life, and then suddenly your guru comes and he initiates you, and then what happens is, now that cord gets cut from your regular life patterns and all of that, and now gets attached to the guru, which means, you know, it's a lot like a mother and an unborn child kind of an equation, you know, where you share everything. So what happens, all your guru's good karmas also start, the effect of that start flowing into your life. Okay, and if you do anything negative henceforth, that also flows into your guru's life. Okay, that's why you would have heard a lot of gurus sometimes towards their old age, they start suffering with some certain health problems or diseases. Why does this happen? Because it is their grace and their love that they take you in, you know, under their tender care. And if you keep continuing to do stupid things, then, you know, they have to work out the karma, because the karma has to be worked out. It's the only way. It cannot be erased. It cannot be dissolved, diluted, none of this. Only a part of it, and depending on what kind of karma it is. Okay, I'll probably do another video on this another day on different types of karma, and a whole video on karma probably, but this is how it works. Okay, and a spiritual guru is only and only interested in your spiritual evolution. This is something that you need to understand. If you think you want to go to a guru to get a certain siddhi or to get a certain material benefit, please know that these kind of spiritual people are also stuck in the trap of Maya. Okay, and they're also chasing the same things that you are. So if you are looking for real spiritual development and growth, and you land with these kind of people, please note that they are exactly the way you are, right? So you have to be careful there. Then you can't say that, oh my god, he's charging me so much money and this happened and that happened. You can't say that, because you also went in with an ulterior motive, with a materialistic motive, right? So these are the few things that you have to be careful of. So now if you have started a certain practice, your prayer and desire is sincere, you know, and you keep doing these kind of japa, you'll start doing nama japa, then probably you'll meet somebody in your life who'll give you more guidance. So one thing will lead to another, eventually making you ready to get your specific designed guru. You know, the god, the devi or the devata will send somebody your way to guide you further. Okay, so say suppose for example you want to go to the Himalayas, right? That is your desire, but you have for some reason started your journey taking you to Kanyakumari. But the point is that you start somewhere, and if your prayer is sincere, if there is that sincerity and love and devotion, okay, within you, then you will find somebody midway who will give you the correct directions to go where you have to go. Somebody may even give you a lift. Somebody will tell you what is the best way to go there. Somebody may give you a map. Somebody from there will come into contact with you and say, hey, look, I've been there and this is what I saw and this is how I got here, and share their experiences with you. right? So this is how we approach the whole path of spirituality, and not chase, instead wait and prepare yourself. Because what happens is, when it's like you've decided you want to cook and you don't even know how to crack an egg, but you get into the kitchen anyway because of the passion and desire for cooking, right? And then if you're cooking and you're putting egg and you're putting pickle and you're putting rice and you're putting fruits into it, somebody will eventually come and say, oh my god, what are you doing? And when that happens, that is the deity that sends someone your way. So because they know that you're so sincere and you're so eager to grow on this path, that we better send a chef your way who can tell you how to cook, or if not, at least how to crack an egg and boil an egg properly, right? So that's what we're looking at. Now, I know a lot of you will be thinking about, oh, but there are certain things that we do, and what if it backlashes? What if we get some negative karma for not following a certain procedure or a process? So something that I want to tell you is, when you are at the beginning stages, there's a reason why I've said you just start off with chanting the names. Do not pick up any specific mantras that have bijas in it or anything else, because then we don't know what your mental and emotional and energetic balance is like for you to be able to be compatible with it, or for it to backfire. Taking the name of a deity is the safest way of proceeding on this path, and you don't need anybody's initiation, you don't need anybody's permission, you don't need anybody's anything. You just need your own willpower and love for the divine to move ahead. And like I said, when you move, eventually you will find the right people, the right mantra for you, the right text, the right way, the right sadhana, and the right everything, okay? The other thing that you could also do is to visit, a lot of powerful temples, visit shrines of yogis where they have taken their samadhis, and request for help and ask for help on the path. If you still don't know what to do, you can even try to request for help on the path through the rishis, okay? They also come down, and they are eagerly waiting to help a sincere seeker. Which brings me to the point and the significance of Guru Purnima. Okay, so Guru Purnima is the day where we honor all our gurus. Okay, so which brings me to, who is a guru? What is the difference between a guru and a teacher? Okay, so when you're on the spiritual path, this makes a lot of difference. Okay, a guru is somebody who has walked the path. Okay, this is not like your college. Suppose you are studying MBBS and you have an MBBS teacher, but she's not a practicing doctor, right? So it's just an example. Okay, so it's not theory. Here, when a person becomes a guru, is somebody who is a practicing doctor and is teaching you how to become a doctor as well. Okay, so gurus are people who have walked the path, who know exactly what it is. And teachers are people who have probably read something from somewhere, seen something, maybe just made some analytical deduction and derivation out of it, and then they're explaining things to you, but they have not walked the path. So this is a big difference between who a teacher is and who a guru is. And on the spiritual path, it is better that if you're seriously you want to progress on it, eventually to have a guru if you know exactly where you want to go. Like nowadays, the Mahavidyas have become very popular. It is not advised to take up these practices just by reading something or watching a podcast or something. If you really want to move in that path and you want to succeed on the path, then you need to find a guru who has walked that same path. Okay, so if there are 10 Mahavidyas, there will be obviously 10 different gurus who would have got the siddhi of that one particular Mahavidya. Or if you're lucky, you will find somebody who has multiple siddhis. That means has walked the path has done the sadhana of multiple of these Mahavidyas, could be 2 or more, 4 or more, but they're very, very hard to come by, which is why I keep repeating that don't be stubborn, just to want a living guru. Be open to the guidance that is coming to you, and eventually you will find the right person for you. Okay, so coming back to Guru Purnima. So at this time, what should one do on Guru Purnima? Yes, of course, if you can, you must go and visit your gurus if you had any kind of initiation, or if you feel you take somebody as their guru, and if it's possible to meet them, you should go and meet them. If you can't do that, today is an excellent day to start chanting any Guru mantra that you have received. Okay, or the one that is most commonly available is Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Okay, you can start chanting this mantra every day from today. It is a very auspicious day to do that. And the reason why Guru Purnima is what it is because the veil between our realm and the higher realms is thinned down. It's just like when you have Pitra Paksh, right? The veil is much thinner for people that are deceased and gone and are in the other ancestral realms. So in the same way, on this day, there are a lot of celestial divine gurus like your rishis and the devatas that are here closer to this realm, and it is easier to seek their blessings and guidance on this day. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether it is in the morning or it is in the night. You can sit at any time, light a lamp in front of you, and just sit down with your sincerity and your dedication and ask for guidance, ask for their blessings, ask for them to show you what is the right path ahead for you, and that will definitely happen. Right, so this is all I had for today's Guru Purnima special, and I hope that you can be open, observant and receptive to all the information and all the guidance that is coming your way. I hope you all are in the light, and I hope you all see the light, the ones that are seeking it. And I will be putting up more videos that give you answers and guidance. So if you're somebody who is looking for more or wanting more on the spiritual path, please stay tuned to this channel. Until next time, take care. Namaste. Om Hrim Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.